Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Comic Chronicle podcast. I'm your guys' host, Dakota Morgan, coming to you from Phoenix, Arizona. And today, my guest is coming all the way from Ireland via some chat devices here. We're going in here. Daniel Earls is on the show today. Daniel, our daddy boy, is on the show, and we are having a great talk today, folks. Hopefully you get some inspiration, some motivation as a creative, for one. For two, some entertainment, because holy shit, it is a great time. We talk about sports, we talk about comics. It's Danny's time being a footballer, aka soccer from my uneducated Americans, and going into comics. We talk about it all, and what comics can mean to people as well. We really do dive into it today and have a great, wonderful chat. Danny, you are an awesome guy. Welcome back on the show anytime, good man. But if you guys want to stay tuned for more of the podcast, subscribe to wherever you're listening to podcasts at, either Apple Podcasts, it used to be iTunes, I'm old, Spotify, Stitcher, or comicchronicle.podbean.com, or whatever third-party apps you guys are listening to as well. And yeah, so if you guys want to follow me live on Twitch for my video game playthroughs that I do, CodaRex97, Twitter at Dakota Morgan 3, and Instagram at Dakota_Morgan 97. You can follow me on there for all sorts of animal fun, adventures, comic shit, all the other jazz. And again, though, folks, thank you for tuning in. I just realized, too, we've now hit 6 years of the podcast. 6 years. So thank you to the guests who've come on, to the fans, to everybody, the listeners, all of you guys. The people who did fan art and shit. Oh, I love you all. You guys have been the best. And here's the 6 more years of doing this podcast and giving you guys some comic book laid back entertainment. Now, without further ado, instead of me rambling on, let's get into my talk with Danny.
Can you hear me, mate?
Yes, I can hear you.
Spot on, spot on. Are you good to record? You're all good to go?
Oh, yeah, all good over here. Yeah, definitely. It really threw me for a loop, Danny. It really did. I was like, oh my God, this is definitely going to, I haven't had a full.
I'm not technology minded, mate, so when people have that sort of problems, I'm like, I am not supposed to ask for help on that, fella. I live in Ireland, mate. We just got the internet 5 years ago.
Oh, really?
No, I'm not be joking.
Oh my God, you'd be shocked at the stories I've heard on this podcast alone, Danny. Oh my God.
I can only imagine. Mate.
There's, oh boy. Well, as we're recording now, welcome to the show. I have my cup of coffee here with me, so it's going great. Like I said, for a hard PC reboot, by the way, that was due to my cats messing around with cables earlier, so they definitely really fucked everything up.
I hear you. I used to own cats. I have 2 dogs now. Me and my fiance have 2 dogs, but I used to have cats, and they're just wire crazy. The dogs are a little bit less so now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What kind of dogs do you have?
We have a little beagle. She's 14, and an American bulldog who's like 40 kilos. He's an absolute monster, mate. So he keeps us busy. Anytime I'm not at the drawing desk, I'm just looking after him. He's just busy as anything with him. But he's great. He's a rescue dog. We rescued him 3 years ago now. So yeah, he's a big old bruiser, mate. We're absolute dog people, like, so.
Very
we kind of
nice.
Never not have one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But,
I get you.
He's the best in the world.
I get you. I'm in an apartment right now, so that's why I can't have dogs.
Okay.
Yeah.
I lived in America for like 10 near on 10 years, and like it was always that you always had to I actually had cats in America because exactly for that reason, because you couldn't have a lot of dogs, and it was like, you always had to check, can you have pets, can you not? It's like it's a lot stricter, I feel, in America than it is over here. Kind of people over here say, you can have a dog, just don't show your neighbors.
Really?
Right.
It's that easy?
I feel like it is, yeah. People, even if it's not that easy, people just do it anyway. You know what I mean? It's like, listen, we love our dogs. To be fair, there's not a ton of apartments the way they are, and then in America, Dakota, it's a little bit different. You only big blocks of apartments in America. It's a little bit different here, kind of the way the layers of houses are, so it's a little bit easier to have the dogs and stuff,
Yeah, that's fair. And it's almost like it's easier to get a house over there than it is in America.
Well, nowadays it's not.
Oh, no.
Now, yeah, we're struggling over here massively for that as well. So I think the whole world's coming together as one in that respect. It's like, there's nowhere to live. And I was like, yeah, no.
Yeah,
so
we're a little bit in trouble.
On that one. Yeah, exactly.
Oh shit. And I know you've been a busy man too, and I know we were supposed to do this the day beforehand and such. So again, thank you for taking the time out, because I know it's like the day after now, and we plan to do it later on and such. But it seems like, as working in comics, you're a very busy man.
Yeah, no, of course. I appreciate you rescheduling it. It's always honestly, I kind of try to pride myself on when I say I'll be somewhere. But I'm kind of trying to get used to this, to the comic book scheduling side of things, mate, and deadlines. And I had deadlines before, I stuck to them, but nowadays it's been crazy, which is that might sound like a negative thing. It's actually a positive. Being working so much is actually a positive thing. But then not being able to schedule things like this in and around life is a little bit more difficult, you know.
Yeah.
But it's like I said, it's an unbelievable quote unquote complaint to have. Like being able to work so much and having so much work on is, I'd take that any day over being able to like pick up and just do anything I want any day. You know, working's a lot better.
Yeah, oh hell yeah. And you take a look at it, like it is, you know, a busy. I used to say that a lot when I worked in the film industry for many years. And I would definitely say like I'm busy, I don't really have time for things, but I'm happy doing this stuff. Like it was that thing where you just enjoy it because you get to create. Like when I have to write some comic book scripts every now and then for the company I work for, like we would writing those, and people are like, "Oh, can you come out tonight?" Like, no, I have to write scripts. I just got an alert from it because like the schedule could be. And correct me if I'm wrong on this, is what it seems like is like all of a sudden you get a call and you're like, oh, my schedule is now booked for the rest of the 2 days. And it is just like, you never know what might come in.
Yeah, it's been crazy, mate. It's like, it's similar to you. Like, even like little things like, mate, going for like a cup of tea, right? In Ireland, that's all we do is cups of tea and coffee with each other, right? But like, even something as simple as that, someone might think, oh, yeah, have a cup of tea for 20 minutes. It's even that is hard to do, right? Because like you're trying to like get in and out of the flow of drawing, and like you just don't have that time. 20 minutes becomes 40 minutes, which is like just something that you don't have. You know, I'm literally like the last 3 months trying to like find hours in the day to try kind of get these pages done. And you can kind of course, there's times when you can kind of look at a panel and think, oh, that's done, but you want it to be the best it can absolutely be. And especially for me, just breaking in now, the code is a different story. I want to like make this as good as I can. Yeah. The hours have been insane, but talking to most comic book artists that are still working 30 years later, the hours are insane for them as well, you know? So it's kind of, the way scheduling has been really, tough is the wrong word, but like interesting to figure out, because you get jobs coming in kind of, luckily enough, from kind of some companies at the same time, and maybe you have to pick one over the other, you know, but then you have to think, right, I've got it up for a month, and then after that I want more work, so you got to schedule that. It's like where people kind of wouldn't really realize that. Will Sliney, one of the biggest artists here in Ireland, was kind of telling me about the schedule and conflicts that he still has, and he's been working for 15 years, you know. Like it's like not even conflicts, it's just like thinking, I want to work on that book, but will I have time when this deadline is hit? So it's always just kind of a management of time and all these projects that are kind of coming your way. But again, that might sound like a complaint. It's not at all. How much of an amazing kind of problem is that to have, that you have to juggle work from these companies? Like that is just incredible. I'd take that any day over not having work come in and having a free schedule, you know?
Oh yeah, you really want to be like, I'm complaining about many jobs, but I love these many jobs. Keep them coming. Like keep on in.
Yeah, and like there's been times where it's like I don't have time for that, but I got to take on this cover because it's such a big opportunity. But then you have to kind of try to figure out how to not make certain work kind of suffer. You got to keep everything at a good quality and standard that you might be not, well, not, I say might be known for. I am not known yet per se because my work hasn't come out yet in interiors, but you got to kind of balance it for yourself to kind of think, all right, that's good enough that I can take on this other cover on top of all this other work, you know?
And you got to hope you don't accidentally slip up on like a picture or anything else, or your NDAs you don't break. You're like, I want to show you guys so bad, but I can't.
That's the biggest thing. Yeah, I've always like thought that when I had this back in the day, they love like, oh, I'm working on something cool. It's like, well, just show us. But it's like, you're so excited to show people, you know? Like my kind of, I've had my first Marvel gig in the books now for nearly 2.5, 3 months, and that's coming out next month. And then I have a Star Wars book that's been in the bag for like maybe a month and a half, 2 months. That's coming out the month after. And then I've just wrapped up a story for DC that won't be coming out for a while. So it's one of those things you're always trying to kind of think like you're trying to tease some work, and you think, I'll show this, just a little bit of a snippet, you know. It's like, but you can't show too much, obviously, because you want the book to come out, you know.
Yeah, that's it. And you don't want to get fired, and you want more jobs. That's like the big part about it. You're like, I want to keep working.
But like having a job and having books on the shelf is more important than getting a like or two on Twitter. You know what I mean?
It's true. I wish to eat. You know, you got dogs. You got to support.
Yeah, I got to keep. If I want to keep drawing, I got to keep this light on above my head.
Yeah, that's it. Oh yeah.
I'm not going to sacrifice that. You know.
Absolutely yes. Now. I gotta ask you something. As someone who's come onto the scene, you know, I would say almost recently to the comic book scene, I've asked some our artist friends of mine this, and it's kind of like a 50-50. Do you draw via the tablet, like on a computer, or do you draw on paper and then scan it in still?
Yeah, I draw on paper. I'm a bit of a caveman, mate, when it comes to technology and stuff, and I'm just not good at all. I've tried to do my best. Like I have a tablet, so I would like color digitally, and I do like a couple like little digital touch-ups. My kind of rule of thumb would be like, it's like, not to sound kind of like pretentious, because that's the last thing I want to do, but like I love artwork, right? Like, it's my favorite thing in the world, and I love traditional artwork and all these like kind of the golden age of illustrators like Bernie Fuchs and Norman Rockwell and stuff. So these guys were traditional artists. So I kind of had this rule of myself breaking in. I said, if I can't do something that I want to do on the board traditionally, I'm not going to try it digitally, right? Because you see all these effects and stuff now. So I'm going to it's going to be a long-winded answer, so settle in, right? Yeah. But like, it's one of those things where like, I'm trying to, at the end of this, say like that I love both traditional and digital art. There's not a thing where it's like, oh, if you're digital, it's this. I love artwork. If someone like, look at Jorge Jimenez and you look at Pepe Larraz, right? Those two are the kind of top digital artists in the world right now. Like, they are phenomenal. They can do anything they want, but they could do that also on paper. But my rule I had for myself was, I want to try, if I wouldn't be able to replicate something digitally that I couldn't do traditionally. So I've tried to kind of teach myself traditionally the whole way through, you know, and then it just became a thing where I just love pencil on paper, mate. I love kind of getting my hands dirty through the day. I love the sound of the pencil hitting the paper. Like, those are kind of things like that are tangible in life. Like, I'm really kind of tactile anyway, you know, so I love that kind of feeling of getting my hands dirty and working with all these different tools. Scan it in, and then of course I'll do some digital kind of touch-ups and stuff, but there's never a thing, because there's always that debate in art, Dakota, like, oh, digital or traditional. I genuinely don't care if someone like drew on a stone with a stone. If it came out amazing, that's what it is. You know what I mean? It's like, so kind of like, I don't get brownie points for working traditionally. If someone's better than me digitally, that's on me to get as good as them. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of, that's the way I kind of feel about it. But I just happen to love, for me personally, traditional work, because I can't replicate the traditional techniques in digital programs and stuff, if that makes any sense.
It does, yeah. And I think it also adds, like, it's kind of a multi thing of why you do it, because there's that factor, but also I think it's because, and you're not alone in this, I've met people who do this, is it's an old school set of mind of, like, you know, you want to get down and dirty, you want to work hard. And I mean, shit, look at your previous career, my good man, Danny. Like, you know, exactly, football, like, that definitely, you got that I want to get dirty sort of thing going on.
Like, that was always a thing. Like, the biggest thing I used to play in England, obviously, before I went to America. And when we went to America, it was like you play on probably 70% AstroTurf pitches, and I hate it. And the biggest thing I hated is because you don't get any dirt on you. You come off squeaky clean, and it's like, I feel like I haven't earned my paycheck this weekend because I haven't got dirty. You know what I mean?
Yep. Oh, yeah. Absolutely, yes. When I played rugby, this is what I loved, and boy, I wish they had it where I'm at now in America, but they don't. It's the weirdest thing. I shit you not. There's like the thing about playing rugby, you get down and muddy and dirty. I grew up in Illinois in the U.S., so more Midwest, middle of the states. I currently live in Arizona in the Southwest. And when I first moved here, Danny, I almost cried because they're like, rugby, what's that? Like, what? You guys don't have one in school? I moved there in high school, and they're like, well, you don't have one in school? And what? We even have a boys and girls rugby team back where I'm from. And they're like,
that's hilarious. That's gas. So what made you, this is going to sound like an ignorant question, which I don't mean it to be, but two sports being not super similar, but somewhat similar, American football and rugby, right? Not that they are that similar, don't get me wrong, but what made you choose rugby over American football and being American yourself?
I found it more fun. Now, to me, it was more fun. It was a lot more interesting to me. It was something new. And, I mean, my grandpa, who was a big sports guy, he had the sports channel on 24/7. He was like, rugby, eh? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, all right. It was definitely something I chose. I mean, I still have my rugby ball here, too. It's out in my office. And it definitely...
That's great.
I don't know what it was about it, but like it seemed interesting to me. It seemed different enough where I wanted to try it. It wasn't the normal baseball, football,
of course.
But American football, I should say. But I did play soccer, aka football for you. It was when I was a little kid, and I don't know what it was. But then the people as well, like rugby people, certain mindset, just something beautiful about it. It really was.
Sport. My sister. She runs a gym here in the town I'm from, and she worked with the Irish rugby national team for, I'm almost going to say nearly 10 years as well. Like, she's rugby mad. Like, my family, growing up, we were into football, like soccer, right? But then she kind of took that over. And to be honest with you, I can really appreciate rugby, and I can respect the players that are absolute animals, and the Irish rugby team are incredible. I've never massively taken to rugby. When you get behind the country, it's always like the Six Nations or something. You can always get behind that, you know. But for me to kind of talk about rugby, I'd be sitting there and lying to you saying if I knew a ton about it, although my sister was the strength and conditioning coach for years, you know. But I do absolutely respect like rugby players and rugby teams. Like watching those like the British Lions documentaries back in the day, that was like I loved that. You know what I mean? Watching those boys, it's like, oh, they are like proper men, you know what I mean? It's like they can handle themselves, you know?
Oh, yeah, Danny, I'm telling you what, it was always interesting to see the scrubs out of there, because whenever time you'd go in a scrum, like any scrum would happen, and they were just like, you really see who's made for this game, and people would quit the team, because they went, they'd beat the living hell out of you. Oh, absolutely.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
I showed my girlfriend some rugby a little bit ago, and she looked at me. She's like, "Why the hell did you play that?" I was like, "Well, you see, it's fun." Exactly.
Brilliant. Funnily enough, they're saying like obviously being in sports, so they're saying American football, and I can understand this, is actually more dangerous than rugby, because you think rugby doesn't wear pads, but by not wearing pads, you have to consciously protect yourself as a human. But then because you play American football and you wear pads, you think you're going to be safer, but you're not. You're running like an absolute freight train into each other, and it's like those pads don't help you, you know what I mean? So like that was really interesting to me to think American football was actually more dangerous than rugby, because one wears pads and one doesn't wear pads. But you can understand that distinction in like, oh yeah, I'm safe, I can go full speed with this guy, but you're actually still getting concussed and you're still killing yourself. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. There's been so many documentaries coming out recently about it, and it used to be the same. It used to be different when I was growing up and playing. Like people like, rugby's different, more tougher than American football, and then all of a sudden, all the know-how and all the concussion people were coming out, and everyone started speaking out. They're like, hey, we're getting messed up here pretty hard. Like we got a lot of brain damage.
It's like. It's so intense. It's like, and listen, the same now as football, like soccer, right? Like growing up, like we used to have, like, it's a weird one, because I hope, well, I was going to say I hope, I am never going to be affected by CTE, because I was the worst header of a football ever, right? So that's not going to affect me. I was absolutely useless, but you see these older players that kind of affected by, like, CTE, and it's really scary, so it is. But, like, even nowadays, they're bringing in this thing where, like, kids can't head the ball under 12s and stuff, you know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know if there's a correct answer, to be honest. Obviously, you want people to be safe, but then you're taking away the kind of fundamental aspects and skills of what certain sports are. But then is it more important to look after a child? Of course it's more important to look after a child. So does the game then have to alter as you move forward? The right answer is probably not even probably, it is Do you know what I mean? You got to kind of move on. Health is more important.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I mean, my other love is hockey. So, and now they're really, they're strict, and like they're really getting strict on the fighting. And you're like, fighting is a part of hockey. And then you're like, well, maybe let's actually cut back.
Like, when I moved to America, I was like, wait, so you're telling me these two can take their helmets off and just kick the shit out of each other in the middle of the pitch and nothing happens? They're like, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm like, I love it.
Yeah, would you like a beer too? Because we're really big on drinking beer in hockey.
And in the crowd, you can do it too. Happy days.
Yeah. And it's like, a hat trick. Throw your hat onto the ice rink, and that hat is $40. You're out $40.
That's brilliant, mate. I love it.
So you probably get this question a lot, my good man, but I feel the same. I'm in your same boat for, career change, because I worked in film industry for a long time, and I had a little bit of animal. Now I work in the animal field at zoos and in an animal ambulance now, doing crime investigations and ambulance calls. And now working in comics from time to time as well. So like a big career change there. For you, though, you went and all of a sudden were like, I'm quitting football for my uneducated American people, soccer. But, you went, you didn't really quit, but you went in and you're like, I want to do comics. Like, what was that like? Because that itself sounds like a movie that I want to watch.
Yeah, I tell you what, mate, your life sounds a bit more interesting than mine. I love animals, possibly. Do you change it from film to you want animals? That's fascinating to me, that sort of stuff. I think, realistically, mate, if you had, I heard this thing, not even to sound kind of cheesy, but like everyone has a story that's really interesting, right? Like if you played a movie of everyone's life, like everyone has an interesting life, right? Like that's so true. It's just kind of now that my two career choices, fortunately or unfortunately, are in kind of limelight, because the two things that are popular in kind of certain culture today, right? like playing football, it was all I ever did growing up. I loved it. It was like I slept with the football. It was me. I couldn't even think of anything else. But then I always loved pop culture and comic books. Like it was always something that, like, as a young, but now it wasn't as popular as it is today. If you say that to a kid now today, they wouldn't even think twice or look blink at you. It'd be like, but back then I was like, oh, you like comic books? It's kind of weird. It's kind of cool, but now you're cool if you like them, right? So
Yeah. Oh,
like,
I know that immensely. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. I always kind of had to keep it under my hat a little bit, but like growing up, I didn't really like. I didn't really care what people thought of me. Kind of going into both professions, but yeah, being a footballer, it was amazing. It was everything I wanted, and then I just kind of I done it for 15 years. I don't miss. The football's a different career for me because it was hard. Like it was, I put out so much pressure on myself in my own life anyway. Like, and that's like, it's not kind of playing a small violin. I just want to be successful, right? Whatever anyone's determination of success is, it's different for everybody, every individual person, right? So like, it was almost like in football, I didn't let myself enjoy it enough. It was like just a relief. If we won, I was like, okay. It was never joy, it was relief. So it was like, oh, good, I'm just moving on to the next game. We got to win the next one. We got to win the next. It was always this train of success, like what can be more successful. So I'm glad to have that career because, like, nothing in comic books. I done an interview for Comic Book Resources recently, and I was just saying, like, when art is very personal, right? You're doing these, like, at the same time of drawing like a cool picture of Batman, it's still personal because you're putting your life and soul into it. But I'm my own worst critic. Coming from football, I'm my own worst critic, so no one can kind of say something that I haven't taught already. Do you know what I mean? So if someone looks at a hand and says that's a terrible hand, I will have already seen that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's just maybe I didn't have time to change it. So going from that into comic books, I've kind of taken a bit of that mentality from me football in there to be like, I'm my own worst critic, but I'm trying to enjoy it a little bit more, I suppose. And then I just absolutely adore drawing. When I played football, I used to just love drawing all the time. Like, I had a lot of time. So when I kind of took this seriously about 7 or 8 years ago, I used to finish training at 2 o'clock in the day and then draw from 2 to like 11. So I had time to kind of train myself to practice and stuff, you know. And then I just never kind of fell in love with anything more in my life than drawing. It's like that thing where, like, the better you get, the better you want to get because you can see improvement. It's very tangible. As a footballer, it's not as tangible as it is drawing because you can look at a drawing from 4 years ago and think, my God, that's crap. And you can see how much better you are now. But every time I look at a drawing that I finish now, I'm still like, God, I got to be better. I got to be better. So I'm always trying to improve, but you can see that tangible improvement in art way more than you can in football. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah. You're able to see it a little bit more. I mean, because compared to two, you have the artwork that you have all the time, and it's there forever. And it could maybe even reach more people, too, which is, I know, a shocking thing that people may believe, but like it's always there, you know? And then before football, you have the championship trophy, maybe a medal or something like that, too. But it just felt like, you know, the game was there. What was enjoyable was the game in the moment. But I mean, that's kind of sports in general, I think. It's like what's there. Yeah. The point is like the game itself right then and there. That's the beauty of it. And playing.
And that is the beauty of it. I had that conversation today, Dakota. That is the beauty of it. It's like sport. Everyone loves sports because the best players like Michael Jordan produce when the pressure's on, right?
Yep.
With art, it's different. The pressure isn't necessarily on in art. It's always on, but it's not like that pressure cooker environment where it's like, right, this is it, 90 minutes, you got to produce. It's like with art, it's a different sort of pressure. You know, so you're dead right with that. That's why people love the beauty of sports, because on a dime, people can change and their lives can change. You can become heroes or like people's worst enemies, right? But art is a little bit different. But I always felt in football, you can win the Premiership is won every year, right? And like that is, so it's been going for 30 years now. There's 30 different teams that have won it. But in art, it's a different thing. We can leave a different sort of legacy. You can leave a book on a shelf that will stand the test of time. Fingers crossed to be lucky enough to have an impact like that on comic books. So that's a lot different than winning Premierships that people win every single year. It's the same competition. That's where football kind of get a bit jaded to me. It's hard to explain that because unless you're in it, it's like, oh, well, this just gets won every single year. Although you can make a name for yourself, you can win it 10 times, which is amazing. You're part of a unit of 11 people in a team, which is also amazing to work as a team. But having that individual kind of collaboration with like a writer and a colorist and letter to create this amazing piece of artwork that will stand the test of time, I think that is really special. I still think football and sports are special. Don't get me wrong, I still love sports, but I think art is different to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and for people who may be wondering, like, stand a test of time, I think a perfect example that can be, you know, you can do a book and it goes into the stores and it's in a store forever, and you know, and next thing you know, it's in like a 50-cent bin or something along those lines, and it's in the cheapo bin, and a kid finds it and that kid could be inspired to do so much. Like, it could be, I mean, because that happened to me. That happened to so many people I've talked to. Like, it could just be $1 book, or like, you know, 2 cents. It's 2 cents, and a kid reads the book, and either they're inspired to be an artist, a writer, or they're inspired to do something with their life, or, you know, it helps them out mentally and gets them in a better spot. Like, it could be any of that stuff. And you know, and that's the thing with the books. They last forever. And especially online, too, they last forever because you have so many different things to do, too.
Yeah. That's so true. It's like, you know, like, you'd be lucky, like, to work in comic books. Like, I feel, like, super grateful to work in comic books. Like, I work hard, like, every comic book artist has worked hard to be in comic books, right? Like,
yes.
And to try keep your foot in the door, you got to work twice as hard. But like you said, it's about going in. Like, I haven't visited the comic book shop today, my local comic book shop, because I haven't had time to go up. And I went up today, just this morning, and like, you just walk in, you think, look at all this work. This is people's, like, blood, sweat, and tears in these books. And one, like you said, one book might inspire someone that might not inspire someone else. Another, but like, it's all these different things. What are you inspired by? It might be in the dollar bin. It might be €100 book. Do you know what I mean? It's all these different things, but it's this artwork that will, like I said, will last forever. And I don't think as well, like, I think, like, in art in general, not necessarily in comic books, but like, art is quite, like, if you were to be real, like, about fine art and stuff, it's quite pretentious. I wouldn't be into, like, modern contemporary art and stuff. Like, I like like kind of Renaissance and figurative and portrait art and stuff. So, like, what it is, like, kind of artists have this kind of it kind of has this aura of like it's a bit airy fairy, and they can paint when they feel inspired. I'm kind of more like militaristic in my approach to art. Like, I think, like, I wake up every day, and it doesn't matter if you're inspired or motivated, you got to be disciplined to chain yourself to a desk and just draw. And I get that from the amazing artists come before me. I didn't pull it out of thin air. Like, Greg Capullo is one of my favorite artists ever. He draws for 12 to 16 hours a day to create these books that have left a legacy that will never be forgotten from him. So if he draws that every day, how can I not draw for that long? And
he's still ripped, by the way, too.
And
oh,
he's
still ripped. I don't know how he does it.
He's still like, and he has time to look like that. It's like, oh, Jesus, will you leave something for someone else, Greg?
It's true. Oh, it's true. Oh, you know what? His Spawn and his Batman, I just stand the test of time for me too, Greg. Like, it's true. He's just a good motivator.
It's phenomenal. It's just like it's his artwork is stunning. Like, his kind of the placement of his camera, nothing ever looks out of place. His storytelling, it's amazing. But it's just his unbelievable relentlessness to work and to always produce. And like, he's at his 40 years and he's still at the top of the game. It's like, after like hitting deadlines, you think that's superhuman. Him and like the likes of John Romita Jr. and stuff like those guys are just absolute machines. That's my type of inspiration. It's not like I love the amazing artists. Things like John Paul Leon is my favorite artist ever. Mm-hmm. He probably wasn't as prolific like monthly as those guys were, but he was the like consummate draftsman. Like, he was an unbelievable illustrator. So like, I'm inspired by all these different people, but I kind of am drawn more towards like the militaristic, get up and sit at the desk and don't move until the job's done.
I think it's just hard working. I think it's like wanting to work at it very hard, wanting to make this a career thing, you know, going at it because you want to work, because you enjoy what you do. I mean, yeah, it's militaristic in a sense, but it's almost just like, you know, being professional, I guess you could say.
But professional, yeah, exactly. And there's so many kind of spins that word has. Now, you couldn't have hit the nail more on the head because it's professionalism. Like, as a footballer, right, I have to show up on time and train. Yep. As an artist, I have to show up on time and get pages done. Do you know what I mean? So I was like, but of course, I'm kind of saying all this, and you kind of took a word there that I should have said at the very start of this. It's the funnest fucking job in the world.
Yeah. Oh, it is. Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, I get to draw Batman on a roof in Gotham, and I get paid. I've been drawing Batman on a roof in Gotham since I was 4.
Yeah. Basically, you look at it until
90, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
Like, it's the like, you're so right. I'm kind of speaking in terms of like all this, like, being disciplined. It's the funnest job in the world, as well as hard working. It's their funnest job
Absolutely, ever. Yeah. I mean, you know, if someone would have told me that, they're like, hey, you get to write for Superman, and my immediate reaction would be, fuck off. There's no way.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
I got that email when I done the Batman cover. I was talking to the editor at DC, and he's like, yeah, so we're going to get you in for a story, but first we'd like to do a Batman cover. And I was like, by me beside my fiance, and I was like, fuck off. No chance.
Yeah.
I was like, no way. And it was the animated series one, so I was like, this is just every kid's dream
Oh,
come true, you know?
absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I mean, oh, absolutely. I mean, that's the thing. Like, people always think like, that's the beauty of the show too. Is like we get to show people and tell them like, hey, this job is fun, but also it's work, but we're also having fun. Like, and it is possible to
Exactly,
have
and
fun
like
and do a hard
it's
job too.
of course that's like the fine balance. Like I kind of would be quite like I have like a bit of an obsessive personality rather than an addictive one, and that's what got me in football, where it was like I explained before, it's like right, it kind of teetered way over towards this side of this is the job and I gotta produce every day. Where I'm trying to kind of find that balance now in art, where it's like I take it so seriously, but I have to remember every day I sharpen my pencil. I'm drawing Batman, or I'm drawing whatever. Do you know what I mean? I'm drawing a cover. I'm drawing Venom. I'm drawing Star Wars. It's like, oh my god, like love these characters. These are characters I grew up drawing, and it's like I get to like have any sort of like impact's the wrong word, but any sort of like little bit of like legacy attached to them. Like, come on, pinch myself every day, you know?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, is there? I know you can't really talk about things that you're working on right now a lot, but has there been like something that you absolutely want to work on? Like, is there a dream project that you want to work? Because put it out in the ether, Danny. Like, let people know.
You
like,
know what? Dakota, yeah, it was weird, man. About a year and a half ago, I was saying, oh yeah, I'm an artist and stuff, and then it was like I was sitting there one day, and my fiance and her sister and my brother-in-law were chatting and just saying like, I gotta kind of own being an artist, but I wasn't like saying I'm an artist for no reason. I was just kind of thinking, people don't care I'm an artist, so I kind of just palmed it off. No, it's just I'm an artist. It is what it is, you know. But then I kind of like said, no, she's right. I gotta say I want to draw Batman. Since then, I've said, like you're saying, put it out into the ether. I said, no, I want to draw Batman. And, like, I did get to draw him on the cover. But my absolute, like, let me kind of preface this by saying, to work for the Big Two has been a dream of mine since I can remember drawing, right? So, like, that is, like, the biggest dream. Give me anything from them, and I'm like, I will die happy because that's amazing. But, of course, everyone has those characters that they want to draw. And it's, like for Marvel, like, Hulk is, like, Hulk and Thor, like, dream characters, the Punisher, Daredevil, those kind of characters, like, I just fell in love with Frank Miller's stories, and I love actually Kevin Nolan's Immortal Hulk stories. One of my favorites. It's only 10 or 12 pages, like my favorite stories ever. But then Batman, like to draw interiors for Batman, that's like kind of right now. I can say like I'm a comic book artist. Does that make sense? It's like, yeah. Now I can say it. And it's like Batman, although like Marvel, I love them, and like so like it's hard for me to separate like Spider-Man probably and Batman with like two characters that I absolutely adore. So like Spider-Man, like interiors for that would be phenomenal. Batman interiors, that's the kind of goal. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely,
really push on and do that, you know, because they're the best of the best. Do you know what I mean? The artists that are on those books, it's like you look up to them and say, oh my god, these guys they draw better with their feet than I would with my hands. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, because
so that's kind of the goal to strive towards.
Yes, because if you look at Batman in the past 10 years, I would say the past 10 years of the Batman, the teams that have been on that book, you look at that and you're like, oh my god, these are good. It doesn't go down; like, it's always high.
Yeah, like that Court of Earls, like that kind of when I was really taking this seriously, that came out and I was like, oh, this is like, because I love like kind of secret societies and kind of horror books anyway and horror stories. Like that was like, oh, that couldn't have struck a nerve more with me at that moment in time in my life. I was like, oh, this is me. This is like I got to push for this like so hard. You know what I mean? To kind of try and get to that level of standard of drawing. Do you know what I mean? And it could be, listen, because like I said, it could work on any character, but those are like the things where I think that's the Mount Rushmore. Those characters only get given to people that are on Mount Rushmore of comic books. You know what I mean? So it's to be able to kind of say you could hold your own a little bit amongst them would be like you'd be absolutely honoured. Like I said before, I'll finish that by saying I'm absolutely couldn't be more grateful to work for those companies either way. Do you know what I mean? What characters they give me, you know?
Absolutely. But we all have our favorites, so let's be honest. We all have our favorite. Like, there's plenty of them I'd like to do at Marvel and DC for sure one day. And if they ever call, I'd be shocked, but also too. I'm like, you read my books? Like, what?
That's amazing.
Oh boy, shit. I think mine would probably be Flash, Danny, to be honest with you.
Oh, would it? What do you love about Flash?
I love the fact is the relatability I have to that character of he can have the most sci-fi crazy shit happen and he's still trying to be an upbeat charismatic guy, and yet he still gets his ass handed to him, but he still goes and does it, and it's a lot of like him trying to be himself still, trying to tackle these big like adventurous things, or even the small time things, like you get a rogue like Captain Cold or something like that, trying to tackle that and trying to still be like a nice guy and trying to still be optimistic in things, and while also having a lot of, because I'm a fan of science, and also I work in a lot of science, so having that science aspect to it as well is also the fun part about it. And honestly, that's been like that book itself since New 52 launch. Nothing but stellar.
I was going to say, you like the Francis Manapul, Brian Butcher, run on that then, the 52 run. Yeah, that was Captain Cole as well, wasn't it? That was incredible.
Oh, yeah. And there's no team on there that hasn't done a good job on that book either, but people never talk about it. I'm like, oh, look at The Flash. Like, I know, the movie and the TV show, but like the books themselves are crazy. It is shot.
That's what I always think. It's weird, mate. When it's almost like if these comic books, right? People hear about them. Oh, comics, they hear this and that. Oh, yeah, great. But they're like these almost untapped gems that, like, the second you give someone a comic, right, and say, I need you to sit down for 3 hours and read this back to front. And they promise you they'll come out of that and think, oh, there's a whole new part of life that I never knew about and now I absolutely have fallen in love with.
Exactly.
Like, the comic books, they think are pictures, but when you're, like you talked about there, you're talking about, you never really mentioned art there, right? And that's like, I don't kind of differentiate, like writers and artists have to make a collaborative effort to make a great comic book, right? But like you're tapping into the DNA of a character, of what the Flash is. That's what people are missing in comic books. They think it's these flashy, cool books, and there is those books, of course, that we all love in the 90s and all, because that's what made us love things as kids. But then you have these like more in depth, like Frank Miller's Born Again, right? It's like one of those things like this is tapping into the DNA of the character, and like if people only realize that that's what comics were, they are mature read material. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's really dives into like the psyche of human minds and stuff. I think people would be really surprised if they broke it down and kind of read that and felt a certain way about a character on a piece of paper. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Oh yeah. I mean, and shout out to artists and the letters and everybody too. The change in style over the years since the 90s and 80s with artwork, that's helped out too. Like it's been a teamwork thing to get it to where we're at now. Like, I think you'd appreciate this. There was I don't remember the Spider-Man issue, but it was a Spider-Man book, and my grandma was always like she loved watching the comic book TV shows and whatnot too. She's like, I don't know about the books though, and she loved the movies too. Like we lived at a point where my grandma knew who Ra's al Ghul was, so I was, and she's like Ra's al Ghul, I know that. Yeah, right? Yeah, they're like, wow, like, this is a crazy world. And she's like, I don't know about the books, and I'm like, she's like, I don't know, they always seem kind of weird. I love the TV shows and the movies. Like, all right, I'm gonna give you a certain comic book issue. It's gonna emotionally tear you to shreds. And it was a Spider-Man book. It was, and I said, this is how serious comic books can get. And it was the 9/11 tribute issue with the Spider-Man book.
Okay.
And she read that, and she gave it to me, and she's like, "Oh my God, I never knew they could get like this." I said, "Yes." Welcome to comics.
He's like, they're like, and of course, when you see like what comics appear to be is like flashy art and cool art, and it seems like it's portrayed for kids, right? And of course we totally understand that. Like, and then you get a book, right, like World's Finest, Dan Morris and Mark Waid's book. I just picked it up there today, the hardcover, because I love it, and that is the funnest book of all time. That doesn't necessarily have to tap into all of your heartstrings. Not comic books don't have to be that. Like even Jorge Jimenez and Chip Zdarsky's last issue on 135 Batman, where all the other Batmans came in, right? Like the Adam West Batman, Michael Keaton, like that's just fuck me. That's why I want to draw comics. That's just fun. That is so fun. You know what I mean?
You have fun.
Give me that comic any day of the week. But then, like we said, we can tap into those other things in comics and that really can think, oh, this makes you think about society, humanity. And I don't think there's a better way. Like, I just love the form and the art of comic books. I adore films and stuff, but comic books give you something different. It's like, it's kind of, people always say it's like it's the best way to make a $1 billion movie ever, because it's just you and your imagination, whatever you can do. Like Frank Quitely's an amazing example of that. He can put anything he wants on paper at any angle, any way he thinks of. So like to be able to do that with just one person or two people kind of writing with the colors and letters obviously as well, like that's an amazing thing to be able to achieve, and to tap into someone, like you're reading words on a paper along with pictures, to tap into someone's psyche like Will Eisner used to do, that is special, you know?
Absolutely. And there's so many options for you now too. Like now's the best time. There's so many different things, like you said, like there's the heart ones, there's the action ones, there's the fun ones, there's so many different characters, there's so many different storylines. It's not like back in the day we only had a few. But now you have so many of them. It's so easy to find one for you, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's almost like, isn't that almost a daunting thing as well? If you're coming in fresh, it's like, where do we even start? You know?
Oh, yeah, that's...
Someone that kind of puts you on the path to be like, this is the way to go. Like, even walking into the Big Bang today, my comic book shop, it's like, I'm in there and I'm like, oh my God, I could be in there for 4 hours. If you give me a chance to look through everything. It's like, I could read everything. But like you said, it's supposed to, I love how like inclusive comic books are as well. It's like, comic books are for people that feel left out, that are popular, that are happy, that are sad. It's like you can find anything for everybody. Like, that's what you're supposed to connect with these characters, and like you said about the Flash, on an emotional level, that you think, oh, this is probably me. This is like, in another world, this could have been me. If you were gifted with the powers of Flash, you were probably thinking, oh, that could have been me for sure. You know?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's crazy when you go in a comic book store and you see all the people that come in. I've met Wall Street people at a comic book store once. I mean, it is the craziest shit. There was one, my memory's trying to get onto it there. Oh, it was a captain in the Air Force at a certain point, and he came, this big burly dude, like, here's my wife, sort of thing. Like, you look at her like, here's all my wife and my money. And he was this big burly guy, and he's like, I'm here for my box. And I'm like, what? And I was doing a booth there for the podcast, and the guy come over and we were talking. And it was a big guy. Man, that's a memory that I haven't thought about in a while. Like, and he's like, oh yeah, no, I take him back to base and I read the books. I was like, oh my God, that's like cool as shit. And it's like this like older guy too, like really older gentleman. And he was like, oh yeah, captain in the Air Force. I'm over here at the base. We have a base here in the state, and they say, oh yeah, go bring him over there, and I read the books in downtime. Like, wow.
But that's amazing. Even like when I showed my dad, he loves movies. Hasn't read comic books in his life, never has. But I brought like the Batman cover into him. There's something about something like being kind of like iconic like that and being on the front of the cover. It taps into everybody. They're like, oh, that's really cool. Even whether you like comics or whether you don't, you know, it's like, oh, there's something about that I love and is cool. And I think genuinely, if everyone admitted it, we probably would have a lot of liars out there because you wouldn't admit it, but everyone at some stage kind of loves something about like characters that they've seen in the past, some sort of rendition that they think looks cool or is cool, you know?
Exactly. Well, we're at the 40-minute mark here, Danny. I don't want to take too much of your time here. I know you got some stuff you got to do. But again, thank you for coming on. This has been an absolute blast, man.
Absolutely, mate. Listen, I appreciate you kind of, like I said, reschedule. But let's do it again sometime to come. I feel like I wanted to ask you a million questions about your life. Maybe we could chat forever, I feel like.
Oh, we absolutely could. I was like, man, like, I don't really want to cut it off. Now, I want to give you the floor, though, Danny. I really do. Anything you can promote without getting yourself fired.
Yeah, do you know what, man? I'm the worst
shit
person of all time. Let me think. I have the Extreme Venomverse number 3 coming out next month. I have this Star Wars Black, White, and Red, Darth Vader Black, White, and Red number 4 coming out the month after. And I have other things in the works that I can't talk about, and if I keep on talking in Irish, I'll get myself in trouble. I should spread out somewhere along the way, so I better leave it there.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. Well, you are welcome back to the show anytime, though. So whenever the stuff comes out, like, hey, can we talk about this book? Absolutely, you're absolutely welcome back.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. And reach out to me as well, mate. Please, I had a great time on here. I really appreciate. It was a great conversation, mate. It just flowed lovely. Thanks a million, Dakota. I appreciate it, buddy.
Of course. Now I'll let you get to it, Danny. You have a wonderful rest of the day, okay, man?